Sergeant Isaiah Thompson heard the spit hit his boot before he saw the man's face. A German prisoner stood 3 feet away, chin raised, eyes cold. Behind him, 40 more prisoners stepped off the trucks. Every single one stared at Thompson, at his skin. The camp gates swung open. A voice shouted in German. Laughter erupted from the truck beds. 6 hours earlier, Thompson had received orders at Camp Livingston, Louisiana. The 555th Quartermaster Battalion would guard 200 German POWs arriving from North Africa. His commanding officer, a white captain named Brennan, delivered the news with a tight jaw. Thompson's unit was all black. The Germans were Wehrmacht and SS. Brennan didn't need to explain the problem. Thompson saw it in his face. The captain handed him a clipboard. Transport manifests, prisoner counts, medical reports. Then he said 7 words Thompson would never forget. Keep them alive. Don't let them provoke you. The trucks arrived at 1400 hours. August heat pressed down on the camp like a wet blanket. Thompson stood at attention with 12 men from his unit. Private Elijah Reed, Corporal Moses Timmons, Private Darnell Foster. All of them wore the same U.S. Army uniform. All of them carried the same M1 Garand rifles. None of it mattered to the Germans climbing down from the trucks. The first prisoner to step forward was an officer. His uniform still had insignia stitched into the collar. He looked at Thompson, then past him, then back at Thompson. His lips curled. He said something in German. 3 other prisoners laughed. Thompson didn't need a translator. The tone said everything. Reed shifted beside him. Thompson raised one hand. Stand down. The German officer walked forward. He stopped inches from Thompson's face. The man smelled like sweat and diesel fuel. He spoke again, slower this time, deliberate. Thompson met his eyes, held them. The German spat. This time it hit Thompson's collar. Reed stepped forward. Thompson blocked him with his arm. The German smiled, turned, walked toward the barracks gate. 40 men followed him. Processing took 2 hours. Names, serial numbers, medical checks. The Germans refused to answer Thompson's questions. They answered the white medic just fine. When Thompson ordered them into formation, half the prisoners stayed seated. When Corporal Timmons raised his voice, 3 Germans stood and gave Nazi salutes. Thompson walked toward them. The men lowered their arms, slowly, smirking. One muttered something. Another laughed. Thompson stopped 3 feet away. He said nothing, just stared. The laughter died. The men looked away. Thompson pointed toward the barracks. They moved. By evening, the camp had divided itself into 2 worlds. The Germans stayed in their assigned quarters. Thompson's unit patrolled the perimeter. Captain Brennan visited once. He asked if there had been trouble. Thompson said no. Brennan looked at the barracks, at the guards, at Thompson. Then he left. That night, Private Foster reported movement near the fence. Thompson grabbed his rifle, walked the perimeter, found nothing. But the next morning, someone had carved words into the guard tower post. Untermensch, subhuman. Reed saw it first. His hand tightened on his rifle. Thompson covered it with his palm. They painted over the carving before noon. The second day brought new problems. The Germans refused to work. Camp regulations required prisoners to help with laundry, kitchen duty, basic maintenance. Thompson's orders were clear. Get them working. He assembled 50 prisoners in the yard, explained the work schedule through an interpreter, a thin man named Klaus, who spoke broken English. Klaus translated. The Germans sat down. All of them. Thompson repeated the order. Klaus translated again. The prisoners stayed seated. One man in the front row, younger than the others, grinned at Thompson, called him something in German. Klaus wouldn't translate. Thompson didn't ask him to. He knew. Thompson walked to the front of the group, looked at the young German, said one word, "Up!" The man laughed. Thompson said it again. The laughter spread. Thompson reached down, grabbed the man's collar, pulled him to his feet. The yard went silent. The German jerked away, swung. Thompson blocked the punch, twisted the man's arm behind his back, pushed him toward the fence. The other prisoners stood. Reed and Timmons raised their rifles. Thompson shoved the German against the wire, held him there. The man struggled. Thompson pressed harder, spoke into his ear. "You want to test me, do it, but you'll work. or you'll sit in isolation for a month. No food, no water, just 4 walls. The German stopped struggling. Thompson released him. The man turned. His face was red, his eyes wet, but he didn't swing again. Thompson pointed toward the laundry building. The German walked. The others followed. That afternoon, a white lieutenant from Division Command arrived. His name was Patterson. He watched the prisoners work for 10 minutes. Then he called Thompson over, asked why a black sergeant was in charge of enemy combatants. Thompson explained his orders. Patterson shook his head, said it sent the wrong message, said the Germans needed to respect authority. Thompson asked if there was a problem with his command. Patterson hesitated, then said no, but his face said yes. He left before dinner. That night, 3 Germans refused their meals. Thompson let them. By morning, they ate. The incidents multiplied. A prisoner threw dirt at Corporal Timmons during roll call. Another urinated near Reed's boots during inspection. One man stood at attention and shouted Sieg Heil every time Thompson walked past. Every provocation was calculated. Every insult designed to break discipline. Thompson's men wanted to respond. He ordered them not to. Not with fists, not with rifles, only with rules. The prisoners learned fast. Rules could be bent, orders could be ignored, and the black guards couldn't do anything without approval from white officers who barely visited the camp. 2 weeks in, the breaking point came. A German prisoner named Müller attacked Private Foster during mail distribution. Müller grabbed Foster's throat from behind, squeezed. Foster dropped his mailbag, clawed at Müller's hands. Reed fired a warning shot into the air. Müller didn't let go. Thompson ran across the yard, slammed his rifle butt into Müller's ribs. The German collapsed, gasped. Blood leaked from his mouth. Foster coughed, rolled onto his side. Thompson stood over Müller. The German looked up, smiled through bloody teeth, said something in German. Klaus, standing nearby, translated without being asked. He says you proved his point. Animals use violence because they can't use words. Thompson pulled Müller to his feet, dragged him toward the isolation block. Müller resisted. Thompson kept moving. The other prisoners watched in silence. No laughter now, no smirks. Thompson shoved Müller into a cell, locked the door, walked back to the yard. Foster sat on the ground. Timmons checked his throat. Bruises were already forming. Thompson ordered Reed to file a report. Then he walked to the command building, found Captain Brennan, explained what happened. Brennan listened, nodded, said he'd handle it. Thompson asked what that meant. Brennan didn't answer. 3 days later, Müller was back with the other prisoners. No punishment, no isolation, nothing. The Germans noticed. So did Thompson's men. That night, Reed asked Thompson why they were even there. If the command didn't back them up, what was the point? Thompson didn't have an answer. He just said they had orders. Reed walked away. Thompson stood alone in the guard tower, looked at the camp, at the barracks filled with men who hated him, at the perimeter where his own army didn't trust him to hold a line. He thought about his father, a sharecropper in Mississippi, who told him the uniform would change things, make him equal. Thompson touched the sergeant's stripes on his sleeve, felt like a lie stitched in thread. The next morning, during breakfast, a fight broke out in the mess hall. Not between guards and prisoners, between prisoners. A younger German named Vogel accused an older SS officer named Kraus of stealing bread. Kraus denied it. Vogel threw a punch. Kraus blocked it, threw his own. Both men crashed into a table. 30 prisoners started shouting. Some backed Vogel. Others defended Kraus. Thompson and his men rushed inside, rifles raised. The prisoners ignored them, kept fighting. Thompson fired into the ceiling. The fight stopped. Kraus's nose bled. Vogel's eye was swelling shut. Thompson ordered both men outside. They obeyed. The mess hall went quiet. Outside, Thompson separated the two, asked what started it. Neither man answered. Klaus translated Thompson's questions. Still nothing. Thompson looked at Kraus. The SS tattoo on his inner arm was visible. Blood type. Standard for Schutzstaffel. Thompson had seen those tattoos before. On prisoners from other transports. On men who believed in a doctrine that called people like Thompson less than human. He looked at Vogel. Younger, Wehrmacht, probably conscripted, maybe forced to fight. Thompson made a decision. Put Kraus in isolation, let Vogel return to the barracks. Kraus protested, shouted in German. Thompson ignored him, walked away. Behind him, Kraus kept shouting. Thompson didn't turn around. That afternoon, Captain Brennan called Thompson to his office, demanded an explanation. Thompson described the fight, the decision. Brennan shook his head, said Thompson couldn't put an officer in isolation without approval. Thompson pointed out Kraus assaulted another prisoner. Brennan said it didn't matter. Unit discipline was different. Thompson asked how. Brennan didn't answer, just ordered him to release Kraus. Thompson saluted, left, released Kraus an hour later. The German walked past him without a word. That night, someone painted a swastika on the side of Thompson's barracks. By morning, it was gone. Thompson never found out who cleaned it. The pattern continued for 3 more weeks. Provocations, insults, small acts of defiance that added up. Thompson's men grew tired. Foster stopped making eye contact during roll call. Reed's hands shook when he held his rifle. Timmons asked for transfer twice. Thompson denied it both times, not because he wanted them to stay, because he knew if they left, the camp would fall apart. And if the camp fell apart, the blame would land on him, on all of them. Proof that black soldiers couldn't handle responsibility, couldn't maintain order, couldn't be trusted. Then in late September, the temperature dropped. Fall came to Louisiana. The Germans requested blankets, extra rations. Thompson filed the requests, waited. 2 weeks passed. No response. The prisoners grew restless, started complaining. Klaus translated their concerns. Cold nights, thin walls, not enough food. Thompson filed another request. Still nothing. He went to Brennan, asked why. Brennan said supplies were delayed. Thompson didn't believe him. Neither did the prisoners. On October 2nd, everything changed. A prisoner named Dietrich approached Thompson during yard time. Spoke in English, said the men were planning something. Thompson asked what. Dietrich wouldn't say. Just warned him to watch Kraus. Thompson asked why Dietrich was telling him. Dietrich looked at the ground, said he was tired. Tired of the hate. Tired of the war. Tired of pretending people like Thompson didn't bleed the same way he did. Then he walked away. Thompson watched him go. Didn't know if he should trust the warning. But that night, he doubled the guard. At 0200 hours, the escape attempt began. The explosion ripped through the eastern fence at 0203 hours. Thompson was halfway across the yard when the blast threw him sideways. His ears rang. Smoke poured from the fence line. Shouts erupted from the barracks. German voices, running footsteps. Thompson rolled to his feet, grabbed his rifle. Reed appeared beside him. Blood ran from his nose. The blast came from the generator shed. Someone had rigged it. Thompson sprinted toward the fence. The wire was gone. A 10-foot gap opened into the woods beyond. Prisoners poured through the opening. Thompson counted 12, 15, 20. They scattered into the tree line. Reed fired warning shots. The prisoners kept running. Timmons emerged from the guard tower, his rifle up. Foster limped from the barracks, his leg bleeding. Thompson grabbed the radio, called it in. Captain Brennan responded within seconds, asked how many escaped. Thompson estimated 25, maybe 30. Brennan cursed, said he'd send reinforcements. Thompson didn't wait. He pointed at Reed and Timmons. With me. They ran toward the gap. The Louisiana woods were thick. Pine trees blocked the moonlight. Thompson's flashlight cut through darkness. Branches scraped his face. Behind him, Reed and Timmons crashed through undergrowth. Ahead, voices shouted in German. Thompson ran faster. His boots sank into soft mud. The ground sloped downward. He slid, caught himself on a tree trunk, kept moving. The voices grew louder, then stopped. Thompson froze, raised his fist. Reed and Timmons halted behind him. Silence pressed in. Just crickets. Wind through leaves. Thompson's breathing. A branch snapped to his left. Thompson swung his flashlight. 3 prisoners stood 30 feet away. They saw the light, ran. Thompson chased them. Reed followed. The prisoners crashed through brush like wounded animals. No plan, just panic. One of them tripped, fell hard. Thompson reached him in seconds, pressed his rifle against the man's back. "Stay down." The German obeyed. Reed zip-tied his hands. Thompson left him there, kept running. The other two had vanished. Thompson stopped, listened. Nothing. He turned back, found Reed guarding the prisoner. Timmins appeared from the right. He had another German, this one bleeding from his forehead. Branch strike. The man's eyes were wild, terrified. Thompson asked where the others went. The prisoner shook his head. Thompson asked again. Still nothing. Gunfire erupted to the north. 3 shots. Pause. 2 more. Thompson ran toward the sound. Reed stayed with the prisoners. Timmins followed Thompson. They covered 200 yards, found Foster kneeling behind a fallen log, his rifle aimed at a cluster of rocks. Thompson dropped beside him, asked what he had. Foster pointed. 4 prisoners, hiding in a ravine. They threw rocks at him. One had a knife, probably stolen from the mess. Thompson called out in English, told them to surrender. A rock flew over his head, smashed into a tree. Thompson fired once, into the dirt 5 feet from the rocks. The prisoners went still. Then hands appeared, empty, raised. Thompson ordered them forward. They climbed out slowly. Foster kept his rifle on them. Timmins secured their hands. By 0230 hours, they had 7 prisoners back in custody, 23 still missing. Thompson regrouped with his men at the fence line. Captain Brennan arrived with reinforcements. 12 white soldiers from the 101st Infantry. Dogs barked from trucks. Searchlights swept the woods. Brennan pointed at Thompson, asked for a sit rep. Thompson explained the explosion, the gap, the split groups. Brennan nodded, then ordered Thompson's unit to return to camp. The 101st would handle the search. Thompson started to protest. Brennan cut him off. "That's an order, Sergeant." Thompson saluted, turned away. His men followed. But Thompson didn't return to camp. He circled west, took Reed and Foster with him, told Timmins to report back, make it look like they all went in. Timmins hesitated, then nodded. Thompson moved into the woods again. Reed asked what they were doing. Thompson said the prisoners would head south, toward the river. Reed asked how he knew. Thompson said because that's what he'd do. The river meant water, cover, a chance to move without dogs tracking scent. Foster limped, but kept pace. His leg wound had stopped bleeding. They moved in silence. 30 minutes later, they found tracks, boot prints in mud, leading south. Thompson counted them, at least 8 men, maybe 10, moving fast, careless. The prints were deep. Thompson followed them. The woods opened into a clearing. Moonlight showed trampled grass, broken branches. The group had stopped here, argued maybe. The tracks split. 5 went east. 3 continued south. Thompson chose south. Reed and Foster stayed with him. They followed the trail for another mile. The prints led to a creek. Thompson knelt, examined the bank. Fresh mud, displaced rocks. The prisoners had crossed. Thompson waded in. The water reached his knees. Cold, fast moving. He climbed the far bank. Found more prints, only 2 sets now. One man had split off. Thompson chose to follow the pair. The trail led uphill. Thompson's legs burned, his uniform stuck to his skin. Sweat mixed with creek water. He heard something ahead. Voices, low, urgent, German. Thompson signaled Reed and Foster. They spread out, moved forward slowly. Through the trees, Thompson saw movement. 2 figures, one tall, one shorter. They stood near a massive oak tree, arguing. Thompson recognized the tall one. Kraus, the SS officer. The shorter man was Vogel. The one from the mess hall fight. They were pointing in different directions. Kraus wanted to keep moving. Vogel wanted to stop, rest. Kraus shoved him. Vogel shoved back. Thompson stepped from the trees, raised his rifle. "Both of you, hands up." Kraus spun, his hand went to his belt, pulled a knife. Thompson didn't know where he'd gotten it. Didn't matter. The blade caught moonlight. Kraus said something in German, spat toward Thompson. Vogel raised his hands, stepped away from Kraus. The SS officer noticed, called him a coward. Vogel didn't respond, just kept his hands up. Kraus turned back to Thompson, started walking forward, knife low. Thompson ordered him to stop. Kraus smiled, kept coming. Reed appeared from the left, rifle aimed. Kraus ignored him. Took another step. Thompson fired. The round hit dirt 2 feet from Kraus's boot. The German stopped. His smile faded. Thompson repeated the order. Drop the knife. Kraus looked at the blade, then at Thompson, then he threw it, not down, at Thompson's face. The knife spun end over end. Thompson ducked. The blade whistled past his ear, stuck in a tree behind him. Kraus charged. Thompson brought his rifle up. Too slow. Kraus hit him like a truck. Both men crashed into undergrowth. Thompson's rifle flew from his hands. Kraus landed on top, started swinging. His fists connected with Thompson's jaw, his ribs. Thompson blocked what he could, took the rest. Tasted blood. He bucked, threw Kraus sideways, rolled, grabbed for his sidearm. Kraus kicked it away. The pistol skittered into darkness. Reed shouted, fired into the air. Kraus didn't stop. He grabbed Thompson's throat, squeezed. Thompson couldn't breathe. His vision blurred. He clawed at Kraus's hands. The German's grip tightened. Thompson's hand found something. A rock. He swung it, connected with Kraus's temple. The German grunted. His grip loosened. Thompson hit him again. Kraus fell sideways. Thompson gasped, rolled onto his hands and knees, coughed. Blood dripped from his mouth. Kraus wasn't done. He crawled toward the knife still stuck in the tree. Reed ran forward, tried to grab him. Kraus elbowed Reed in the stomach. Reed doubled over. Foster raised his rifle. Kraus pulled the knife free, turned, charged at Foster. Foster fired. The shot went wide. Kraus tackled him. Both men went down. The knife plunged toward Foster's chest. Foster caught Kraus's wrist, held it strained. His arms shook. Kraus pushed harder. The blade moved closer, inch by inch. Foster screamed. Thompson found his pistol, raised it, fired. The round hit Kraus's shoulder. The German jerked, fell sideways. The knife dropped. Foster scrambled away. Kraus clutched his shoulder. Blood seeped through his fingers. He looked at Thompson, said something in German, then collapsed. Thompson stood. His legs wobbled. Reed helped Foster up. Thompson walked to Kraus, checked him, still breathing. The shoulder wound was clean, through and through. Thompson pulled out his med kit, started packing the wound. Kraus's eyes opened. He stared at Thompson. Confusion, pain, maybe hatred. Thompson didn't care. He kept working. Reed asked why he was helping. Thompson said because that's what they did. Reed shook his head. The man tried to kill you. Thompson finished bandaging. Said he knew. Did it anyway. Vogel watched from his spot near the oak. His hands still raised, his face pale. Then dogs barked in the distance, close, getting closer. Thompson looked at Reed. Asked how far to the river. Reed said maybe 2 miles. Thompson said they needed to move. Get Kraus back before the 101st found them. Found him treating a German who'd just tried to gut him. Questions would follow. Bad ones. Thompson grabbed Kraus's good arm, hauled him up. The German groaned. Thompson told Reed and Foster to secure Vogel. They zip-tied his hands. Thompson started dragging Kraus south, away from the dogs, toward the river. The German's weight pulled him down. Thompson adjusted, kept moving. Behind him, Foster asked where they were going. Thompson said the river, then back to camp. Different route. Reed said the dogs would find them. Thompson said maybe. Kept walking. 15 minutes later, Kraus collapsed. Thompson couldn't pull him anymore. He set the German against a tree, checked the wound. Blood soaked through the bandage. Not arterial, but steady. Kraus needed real medical attention. Thompson looked around. They were deep in the woods. No landmarks, no clear path. Just trees, darkness, and dogs getting louder. Reed suggested leaving Kraus. Thompson said no. Reed said he tried to kill them. Thompson said it didn't change orders. Bring them back alive. Reed's jaw tightened. He looked away. Vogel spoke. First word since his capture. Said there was a hunting cabin, 2 miles east, abandoned. He'd seen it during transport. Thompson asked how he knew. Vogel said the trucks took a service road, passed right by it. Thompson asked if he was sure. Vogel nodded. Thompson made a decision. They'd head for the cabin, wait out the search, tend to Kraus, return at first light. Reed protested, said it was suicide. Thompson said it was orders. Reed fell silent. They moved east. The cabin appeared after 90 minutes. Small, wood-rotted, roof sagging but intact. Thompson kicked the door open, checked inside. Empty. One room. Dirt floor. Broken furniture. A fireplace filled with old ash. It would work. Thompson dragged Kraus inside, laid him near the wall. Foster found a lantern. No oil. Reed discovered a well outside. Brought water. Thompson cleaned Kraus's wound properly. The German's eyes stayed closed. His breathing shallow. Thompson checked his pulse. Weak but steady. He'd live. If they got him back soon. Outside, dogs barked. Closer now, maybe a quarter mile. Thompson doused the lantern, ordered everyone silent. They waited in darkness. The barking grew louder, peaked, then faded. The search party moved past them, headed west. Thompson exhaled. Reed asked how long they'd stay. Thompson said until dawn. Then they'd move. Reed nodded, sat against the wall. Foster did the same. Vogel stayed near the door, hands still bound. Thompson checked Kraus again. The German's eyes opened. He looked at Thompson, whispered something. Thompson leaned closer, asked him to repeat it. Kraus said it in English. Why? Thompson didn't answer. Kraus's eyes closed again. Thompson sat back. His body ached, his jaw throbbed, blood crusted on his collar. He thought about the camp, about Brennan, about what would happen when they returned. Charges, maybe. Court-martial for disobeying orders. For helping an enemy combatant who'd attacked him. For disappearing during a manhunt. But sitting here in this rotting cabin, with a bleeding SS officer and 2 exhausted soldiers, Thompson felt something he hadn't felt in weeks. Control. Not over the Germans. Not over the camp. Just over himself. His choices. His actions. Nobody could take that. Dawn broke at 0602 hours. Grey light filtered through gaps in the cabin walls. Thompson woke, checked Kraus. The German was awake. Pale. Feverish. But conscious. Thompson offered water. Kraus stared at him, then drank. Thompson helped him stand. Kraus winced. His legs barely held him. Thompson grabbed his good arm. Reed got the other side. They walked Kraus outside. Vogel followed. Foster took point. They started back toward camp. The walk took 3 hours. Kraus slowed them. Twice he collapsed. Each time Thompson got him back up. Reed stopped asking why. Just helped. They reached the camp perimeter at 0920 hours. Guards saw them. Raised rifles, then lowered them. Thompson identified himself. The guards opened the gate. Captain Brennan stood in the yard, his face red, jaw clenched. Behind him, a dozen prisoners knelt in formation. Recaptured. Thompson walked Kraus to the medical building, handed him to the medic, then turned to face Brennan. The captain said one word, office. Brennan slammed the office door. Thompson stood at attention. The captain circled him, said nothing for 30 seconds, then exploded. You disobeyed a direct order, disappeared for 7 hours, and returned with a wounded German who tried to kill you. Thompson stayed silent. Brennan stopped in front of him. Explain yourself, Sergeant. Thompson kept his eyes forward, said he pursued escaped prisoners, brought 2 back, prevented a German officer from dying. Brennan's face reddened. I told you to return to camp. Thompson said the prisoners were heading for the river. Nobody else was tracking them. Brennan stepped closer. You shot a POW. Thompson said self-defense. Kraus attacked Private Foster. Brennan asked why Thompson saved him after. Thompson said because those were the rules. Brennan walked to his desk, sat, rubbed his face, asked what happened in the woods. Thompson gave details, the chase, the fight, the cabin. Brennan listened. His expression shifted from anger to something else. Confusion, maybe. He asked about the other prisoners, the ones the 101st caught. Thompson said he didn't know. Brennan said they found 18, 5 still missing. Thompson nodded. Brennan leaned back, said division was sending an inspector. Someone had to answer for the escape. Thompson asked if he was being charged. Brennan said not yet, but he was being watched. Thompson saluted, left. Outside, Reed waited, asked what happened. Thompson said they'd find out. Reed followed him across the yard. The recaptured prisoners sat in formation, guarded by the 101st. Thompson counted heads. 19, including Kraus and Vogel. One more than Brennan said. Thompson approached the 101st sergeant, asked where the extra man came from. The sergeant pointed. A prisoner at the end of the line, face down, not moving. Thompson walked over, recognized him, Dietrich, the one who'd warned him. Thompson knelt, checked for a pulse. Nothing. Asked what happened. The 101st sergeant said they found him in a ravine. Neck broken. Must have fallen during the escape. Thompson looked at the body. Dietrich's hands were behind his back. Tied. Thompson pointed that out. The sergeant shrugged, said he died before they caught him. Thompson didn't argue, but the math didn't work. Dietrich had tried to warn him. Now he was dead, hands bound. The medic emerged from the medical building, told Thompson that Kraus was stable, fever coming down, wound clean. He'd recover. Thompson thanked him, walked to the barracks, found Foster, asked about his leg. Foster said it was fine, just bruised. Thompson told him to rest. Foster asked about Dietrich. Thompson said it was handled. Foster's eyes said he didn't believe that. Thompson left before more questions came. That afternoon the inspector arrived. Major Cullens from division. White, early 50s, uniform pressed sharp. He gathered everyone in the command building. Captain Brennan, Thompson, the 101st officers, the medic. Major Cullens laid out photos on the table. The destroyed fence, the explosion site, boot prints in mud. He asked how the prisoners got explosives. Brennan said they must have stolen them. From where? Brennan didn't know. Cullens asked Thompson. Thompson said the generator shed. Someone with engineering knowledge could have rigged it. Cullens asked who. Thompson suggested looking at prisoner records, find out who had technical training. Cullens made notes, asked about the chase. Thompson explained. Cullens stopped him, asked why Thompson split from the main search party. Thompson said he tracked prisoners going south. Cullens asked if he had permission. Thompson said no. Brennan shifted in his chair. Cullens asked why Thompson shot Kraus. Thompson described the attack. The knife. Foster almost dying. Cullens asked why Thompson didn't let Kraus bleed out. Thompson said it wasn't his job to execute prisoners. Cullens studied him, then closed his notebook, said he'd file his report, left without another word. That evening, the camp was silent. Prisoners stayed in their barracks. Guards patrolled with doubled shifts. Thompson walked the perimeter, checked the repaired fence, new wire, stronger, searchlights added, dogs on rotation. The camp looked like a fortress now. Thompson wondered if it had always needed to be, or if the softness had been intentional, a test, one they'd failed. 3 days later, Kraus was moved from medical to isolation, standard procedure for violent offenders. Thompson escorted him. Kraus walked slowly, his shoulder bandaged, arm in a sling. They moved through the yard. Other prisoners watched. Some stared at Thompson, others at Kraus. Nobody spoke. Thompson opened the isolation block door. Kraus stepped inside, stopped, turned, looked at Thompson, said 4 words in English. "You should have killed me." Thompson said probably, but he didn't. Kraus's expression changed. Not gratitude, something harder, confusion. He walked into his cell. Thompson locked the door. The next morning problems started. 3 prisoners refused breakfast, sat at their tables, didn't touch their food. Thompson asked why. Klaus translated. They said the food was poisoned. Thompson said it wasn't. Eat. The prisoners refused. Thompson let them sit. By lunch, 10 more joined the protest. By dinner, half the prisoners weren't eating. Brennan called Thompson to his office, asked what was happening. Thompson said they were testing him, seeing if he'd break. Brennan asked what Thompson planned to do. Thompson said nothing. Let them starve if they wanted. Brennan disagreed, said it would look bad if Germans died of hunger in American camps. Thompson asked what he suggested. Brennan had no answer. On day 2 of the hunger strike, Vogel broke ranks. He ate breakfast alone. Other prisoners noticed, started whispering. Vogel ignored them, finished his meal, returned his tray. That afternoon, 2 more prisoners ate, then 5. By evening, only 12 held out. Thompson recognized them. The hardliners, SS mostly. Men who'd rather die than accept food from black hands. Day 3, one of the holdouts collapsed during roll call. Thompson called the medic. The man was dehydrated, malnourished. The medic started an IV. The other holdouts watched. Their faces showed nothing, but Thompson saw fear creeping in. That night, 3 more broke. Ate quietly, avoided eye contact with the others. By day 4, only 4 prisoners remained, all SS, including one named Koch. He became their spokesman, stood at morning formation, shouted in German. Klaus translated. Koch said they'd rather die than accept charity from subhumans. Thompson walked toward him, stopped 3 feet away, said he wasn't giving charity, just following regulations. Koch spat, missed Thompson's boot by inches. Thompson didn't move, just stared. Koch stared back. Neither blinked. After 30 seconds, Koch looked away, sat down. The hunger strike ended. That same afternoon, Thompson received new orders. Kraus would be transferred to a camp in Arizona, higher security. Thompson was to prepare him for transport. Thompson went to the isolation block, opened Kraus's cell. The German sat on his cot, shoulder healing, face drawn. Thompson told him about the transfer. Kraus nodded, asked when. Thompson said 2 days. Kraus looked at his hands, said he'd heard about the hunger strike, how it ended. Thompson asked how. Prisoners talk, even in isolation. Kraus said Koch was a fool, a fanatic. Thompson asked what that made Kraus. The German didn't answer right away, then said he didn't know anymore. That night, Vogel approached Thompson during yard time, asked to speak privately. Thompson took him aside. Reed stayed close, rifle ready. Vogel said some of the men were planning something. Thompson asked what. Vogel said they wanted to kill Koch, make it look like suicide. Thompson asked why. Vogel said Koch's rhetoric was making things worse, drawing attention, getting people hurt. Thompson asked why Vogel was telling him. Vogel said because he was tired of hating, tired of fighting a war that was already over. Thompson asked what he wanted in return. Vogel said nothing, just wanted it to stop. Thompson told him to keep his head down, stay quiet. Vogel nodded, walked away. Thompson reported the threat to Brennan. The captain moved Koch to isolation. Different cell. Away from Kraus. Koch protested, said it was a setup. Thompson said probably, but it kept him alive. Koch called Thompson a liar. Thompson walked away. That night someone threw a rock through Koch's cell window, shattered glass everywhere. Guards searched the barracks, found nothing. Nobody admitted anything. Koch stayed in isolation after that, safer for everyone. The morning of Kraus's transfer, Thompson escorted him to the transport truck. Other prisoners watched from the yard. Kraus's hands were cuffed, his shoulder still bandaged. He moved carefully. Thompson helped him into the truck. Kraus sat, looked at Thompson, said something in German. Thompson asked Klaus to translate. Klaus hesitated, then said Kraus thanked him for saving his life, even though he didn't deserve it. Thompson said everyone deserves to live. Kraus shook his head, said not everyone. Some men do too much evil. Thompson asked if Kraus thought he was evil. Kraus looked at his cuffed hands, said he used to be certain. Now he wasn't. Thompson closed the truck door, watched it drive away. That afternoon, Reed asked Thompson what he thought about Kraus. Thompson said he didn't know. Reed said the man tried to kill them. Thompson said he remembered. Reed asked how Thompson could save him. Thompson said because the alternative was becoming like them. Reed didn't understand. Thompson explained. Said the moment they started deciding who deserved to live and die, they stopped being soldiers, started being executioners. Reed fell silent. Thought about it. Then nodded. 2 weeks later, the 5 missing prisoners were found. Dead. In a ravine 10 miles south. The army ruled it accidental. Said they'd fallen trying to cross rocky terrain. Thompson didn't believe it. The bodies were arranged too neatly, hands bound, just like Dietrich. But he didn't push. The official report said accident. Case closed. The camp moved on. By November, the camp had changed. Fewer incidents, less tension. Some prisoners even helped with repairs voluntarily. Klaus translated their reasons. They said the war was ending. Germany was losing. No point in making things harder. Thompson didn't trust it completely, but he accepted it. The alternative was constant fighting. Nobody wanted that. One evening, Vogel asked Thompson if he could write a letter to his family in Germany. Thompson said all prisoners could write. Vogel said he knew, but he wanted to say something true, something censors might block. Thompson asked what. Vogel said he wanted to tell his brother that the enemy wasn't what they'd been told, that black soldiers had more honor than the SS, that humanity didn't have a color. Thompson said censors would definitely block that. Vogel smiled, said he figured, but he had to try. Thompson let him write it. Censors did block it, but Vogel kept the original, folded in his pocket. Late November, news arrived. Germany was collapsing. The Allies were pushing into the fatherland. Berlin was being bombed daily. The prisoners heard through letters, through guards, through the radio in Brennan's office. Their faces showed everything: denial, anger, grief, fear. The dream they'd fought for was dying, and they were alive to see it. Some prisoners wept openly. Others stared at nothing. A few cheered quietly, glad it was ending. Koch remained in isolation. He refused to accept defeat, shouted propaganda through his cell door, quoted Hitler, sang anthems. Thompson let him. The man was harmless now, just noise. The other prisoners ignored him, moved on with their lives, worked their shifts, ate their meals, waited for the war to end, for repatriation, for whatever came next. In early December, Thompson received a letter from the War Department. His unit was being commended for handling the escape with minimal casualties, for maintaining order during a crisis, for exemplifying discipline under pressure. Brennan showed him the letter, said Thompson should be proud. Thompson said he'd just done his job. Brennan smiled slightly, said most men couldn't have. Thompson asked if the inspector filed charges. Brennan said no. The report praised Thompson's quick thinking, his restraint, his commitment to regulations even when tested. Thompson was surprised, didn't show it, just nodded, thanked Brennan, left. That night, Reed asked what the letter said. Thompson told him. Reed smiled, said they'd earned it. Thompson asked if Reed still wanted a transfer. Reed said no. He'd stay. See it through. Thompson said he appreciated it. Reed said they were brothers now, went through hell together. Thompson agreed, shook his hand. The camp settled into routine. Winter came, cold mornings, frost on the fences. The prisoners requested blankets. This time supplies arrived within days, warm coats, extra rations. Brennan said division was paying attention now, making sure everything ran smoothly. Thompson suspected it had more to do with the inspector's report, but he didn't care why, just that it happened. Christmas approached. The prisoners asked if they could celebrate. Thompson checked with Brennan. Brennan approved it. The mess hall was decorated, not much, just some paper chains, a small tree. The prisoners sang carols, German ones, sad, beautiful. Thompson stood in the doorway, listened. Reed stood beside him, asked if Thompson ever thought they'd get here. Thompson said no, never. Reed said it was strange, guarding men who wanted them dead, then watching those same men sing about peace. Thompson said that was war. Nothing about it made sense. On Christmas Eve, Vogel approached Thompson, handed him a small wooden carving, a bird, carved from a piece of firewood. Vogel said it was a gift to thank Thompson for treating him like a person. Thompson accepted it, said it wasn't necessary. Vogel said it was, for him. Thompson put the carving in his pocket, told Vogel to have a good night. Vogel smiled, walked back to the barracks. That night, Thompson sat in his quarters, held the carving, turned it over in his hands, thought about everything that had happened, the spit on his boot, the insults, the hunger strike, the escape, Krause in the woods, the fight, the cabin, saving a man who wanted him dead, and now this, a gift, from a former enemy. Thompson didn't know what it meant, if it meant anything, but he kept it, put it on his shelf next to his sergeant stripes, his commendation letter, reminders of what he'd survived. The war would end soon. The prisoners would go home. Thompson's unit would move on. to new assignments, new camps, new challenges. But this place, Camp Livingston, Louisiana, November through December, 1944. This would stay with him. The camp where a black sergeant taught German prisoners that the enemy wore the same skin as them, where humanity broke through hate. One meal, one bandage, one day at a time, and in the end, that was enough. May 8, 1945, victory in Europe. The radio announcement came at 0900 hours. Germany had surrendered. The war was over. Thompson stood in the yard. Around him, prisoners stopped working. Some dropped to their knees. Others covered their faces. A few walked to the fence, stared east, toward home, toward ruins. Klaus translated what one prisoner whispered. Everything we fought for, gone. Thompson said nothing, just watched them process defeat. That afternoon, Captain Brennan called assembly. All prisoners, all guards. He read the surrender terms, unconditional, total. Germany divided. Leaders arrested. The prisoners listened in silence. When Brennan finished, one prisoner asked about going home. Brennan said repatriation would begin within weeks. Until then, camp routine continued. The prisoners returned to their barracks, slower than usual, heavier. 3 days later, the first group prepared to leave. 30 men. Vogel among them. Thompson checked their paperwork, verified names, serial numbers. Vogel stepped forward, extended his hand. Thompson shook it. Vogel said he'd never forget what happened here. Thompson said he wouldn't either. Vogel asked if Thompson thought people back home would believe him about black soldiers with more honor than the SS. Thompson said probably not. But Vogel would know the truth. That was enough. Vogel nodded, boarded the truck. Thompson watched him leave. Over the next month, prisoners departed in groups, 20, 30, 40 at a time. The camp emptied slowly. Koch left under guard, still shouting, still defiant. Thompson didn't watch him go. Some prisoners Thompson never learned the names of. Others, he remembered. The young one who'd thrown the first punch, the one who'd stolen bread, the man who'd painted over the swastika. Each departure felt like closing a chapter. In June, a letter arrived. No return address, just a German postmark. Inside, a single photograph. Vogel standing with his family, his wife, 2 children, healthy, smiling. On the back, 4 words in English. We made it home. Thompson pinned the photo to his barracks wall. Next to the wooden bird, Reed found him looking at it. Asked if Thompson thought any of them really changed. Thompson said some did. Reed asked how he knew. Thompson said because they had to. The alternative was living with what they'd believed, what they'd done. Some men couldn't carry that weight, so they changed, or tried to. Reed asked if that was enough. Thompson said he didn't know. But it was something. July brought new orders. The 555th Quartermaster Battalion was being reassigned to a base in Georgia. Supply management, no more prisoners, no more camps. Thompson's men packed their gear, cleaned their barracks, prepared to move. The night before departure, Thompson walked the empty camp, past barracks that once held 200 men, past the mess hall, the isolation block, the repaired fence. Everything silent now. He stopped at the spot where the German had spit on his boot. That first day, that first moment, the beginning of everything. Thompson touched his sergeant's stripes. They felt different now, heavier, earned. Reed joined him, said it was time to go. Thompson took one last look, then turned away. They walked to the trucks. Foster and Timmons waited. The 4 of them climbed in. The engine started. The gates opened. Camp Livingston disappeared behind them. Years later, Thompson would tell the story. To his children, his grandchildren, about the camp in Louisiana, the German prisoners who hated him, the escape, the fight in the woods, saving a man who tried to kill him. He'd show them the wooden bird, the photograph of Vogel's family, the commendation letter. And he'd tell them what he learned, that hate was taught, but so was humanity. That uniforms didn't make men equal, actions did. That the hardest battles weren't fought with rifles, but with choices, every single day. In 1963, Thompson received another letter. From Germany, Vogel's son, writing to say his father had passed, peacefully, in his sleep. But before he died, he told his children about an American sergeant, a black man who showed him what honor really meant, who saved his life, not by shooting, but by treating him like a human being when nobody else would. The son said his father never stopped talking about it, never forgot, and neither would they. Thompson folded the letter, put it with the others, the photograph, the bird, the commendation. Pieces of a story most people would never believe, that in the middle of the worst war in history, in a prison camp in Louisiana, enemies became something else. Not friends, not brothers, but men who recognized each other's humanity. And sometimes that was the greatest victory of all. If this story moved you, remember that history is made of moments like these, small acts of courage, quiet decisions that change everything. The men who guarded Camp Livingston never made headlines, never got parades, but they proved something the world needed to see. That dignity has no color, that mercy is strength, and that even in darkness, humanity finds a way.